Evening.
Hello. Yes, that's better than my mug shot. No, the photo you sent me. It's a little better than my mug shot. Come on, where did I put that thing? I just did it. I had to crash my computer because I was getting too many feedbacks. Still can't believe anybody bought Bitcoins.
I got some good news to share while we're waiting.
All right.
There was the attorney who went undercover. She is working for the FBI, and she was pretending like she was one of us, and she was going into the courtrooms on these foreclosures. And
right.
so she was documenting all their stuff, and she was documenting the paperwork that they were presenting in court on these, because remember, she was acting like she was one of us, right?
Right.
So she documented all that stuff so she could go back and give it to the FBI and teach the FBI. Now what they're doing is they're coming forward now, and they're starting to alert the sheriff's departments and the police departments because they don't have any idea of what we're facing and what we've been trying to tell them. Except for me, because I put it in words. But the funny thing is and by the way, I sent that to you and Ed, David, excuse me, on Facebook, on your wall. So it's called the Mortgage Securitization Audit, Forensic Loan Audit. Anyway, it's a 60-minute video recording on 60 Minutes, and she is blowing the whistle. And they actually have a number that because the FBI is now realizing and has realized how they were being deceived.
Well, we'll see in time here if that's the truth, but anyhow.
Oh no, it's the truth because she's
Hang on. Are we getting close to being on air yet?
I thought he started the show.
Huh?
I thought he started the show.
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Are we on air yet?
I'm waiting for... Go ahead.
I'm waiting for it to get going. It's saying stream now is live, but the YouTube events it's not connected to yet.
Okay.
This is why I wanted.
You've got Oregon Trackers YouTube running because you got Dave's picture on it.
Oh, okay. Oregon Trackers is going?
Yeah, I can see Dave's picture on it. It's running.
All right, can you see yours down below?
Unfortunately, yes.
I like that unfortunate side. Okay, guys, this is pre-show, guys. So, no, we'll since it's going, and hopefully the audio is working. Did you check the audio, Ed?
I can't do that right now because I've got 200 windows open. I'm trying to find the window that I was trying to get set up before I even got to where we're at.
Okay.
Because I had too many things going on. Like that's never happened before. So give me a few minutes. But if you got the other one up where you can hear us on the link, then let's go ahead and let's open it up and start going, because I've got 200
going.
windows open. I'm trying to find the window that I was trying to get set up.
I see the call number going across the screen, and I see both of our faces there.
Yeah, I'll be fixing that while we're going. But okay, guys, the
let's
disclaimers by Dave and Ed. Take two. All right, guys, it is now 5/22/2017. This is the disclaimers by Davidlee Buess and Ed Johnston. I'm going to just let it go, and you guys take over. I'm going to mute.
All right, thank you. Anyhow, this is Ed. We'd like to thank you all that are joining us. We are not lawyers. We are not attorneys. We are not anything but guys who just done the research, have been, down the rough road many times. And this is the point, is learning what the truth is compared to the fantasies that we're led to believe. It's like everybody's getting so upset that they're tearing down monuments and getting rid of the British, what they call the rebel flag. The original flag that everybody's talking about, that Robert E. Lee flown with the rebel flag, is in downtown London, sewer and water. See, the one thing is people don't read and do real history. We get confused because we've had conflicts of knowledge, conflicts of history. It's like I'm getting questionable questions that have been asked me here lately. What's the difference of a corporation judge compared to an actual federal judge? Well, is there an actual city and county judge that are not commercial? Technically, no. Anything continental, and if you do the structure, it belongs to the European Union, European nations. That's continental. Because I had too many things going on. It's not a British colony. This is the one thing that people get so confused, including Indian tribes. I've been on the phone with, even the tribe today with the pipeline. And trying to talk to some of these people. They talk and they still go by the Bible. They go by democracy. And it's like, do you think your forefathers would have gone through
The recording has started.
Oh, I thought we already started the recording. Let me start again. Anyhow, my name is Ed.
My bad. Sorry about that.
Anyhow, my name is Ed Johnston, and Davidlee Buess is with us. And we are not attorneys. We're not lawyers. We are nothing but guys who have done research and common sense and knowledge, knowing what the truth is compared to the misguidance we get constantly given. It's like there's a group out of Arizona called the, what do they call that? It's not Common Core, but it's basically, it's civics. It's civic education, they're calling it, and it's on Facebook. Don't be deceived by them. They're foreigners. Their whole program is to get people through immigration, even if they can't get through immigration. I talked to the director of the program personally myself. And when I got done having a conversation with her, I was shocked about some things, because it was like, aren't you going to teach the real history and the common knowledge of Mother Earth and this structure? And it was still going basically of the Bible. And we didn't want to get into that because that could be offensive. Well, excuse me, if you think this country is offensive, get the hell out of our country. I don't care. Sticks and stones might break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Grow up, little children. Grow up. Either you're an adult or a child. You don't get to have one or the other or be switched off. And some people know what I mean by that without getting a term that could be called racism. But, see, people don't have a concept, even the legal or lawful term of racism. Racism is when you go against someone's religion. It's like, I believe in the Great Spirit Mother Earth. I don't believe in the book of her Bible. And so I get attacked because of that. Oh, Ed, you should read this. Oh, Ed, you should go by this. No, I should not, because the First Amendment gives me my right of educational knowledge. If you believe in the Bible, that is your First Amendment right. All right? I can't go against your right, but I'm going to tell you, our forefathers and the structure set up this country so that way we weren't based on religion, Christianity, Muslim, whatever you think your fantasy religion is, and I'm blunt. The main point on religion comes without mother, without Spirit, Great Spirit, there is no children. There is no lettuce. There's no tomatoes. There's no food. That is the one thing that people don't comprehend in the reality of the world. If you look right now in the Pacific Ocean, the ocean is dying around the world. Sea lions, whales, food resources, everybody's washing up on the structure. And nobody gets this point. It's your food resources, folks. And if you don't start collecting rainwater and growing food for your children, you've lost reality. You know, and if you're living, you know, in an apartment complex, you know, until something else transpires, you got to learn how to grow food. So shit happens tomorrow. What are you going to do if you don't have backup food? That is the main point. If you don't have food, you know, people don't think about that point, and they go, oh, I could be thrown off my land and all this stuff. Well, you know, you start standing together with your neighbors, you won't be thrown off your land. That's the whole point, that we forget that we're supposed to be standing with one another. You know, I had a couple of topics I really wanted to go off of. I mean, I had an old friend I got a hold of here in the last 3 weeks. I'm still trying to figure out that reality. You know, because the one thing is, I learned a long time ago, never ever trust a woman. Never, ever trust a woman. Every time I've done that, I got bitten twice hard. But, I mean, you know, that's just part of life. That's happened to me. I can't say that for others because I haven't lived your life. But I know what I've seen and witnessed, that's my personal thoughts.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves. All participants are muted.
You get muted, Ed?
Thank you. Huh? Why am I muted?
I'm sorry. We were hearing some background noise like crazy, and it just, I don't know. Oh, you didn't sign in with host.
Call number.
You didn't sign in
So,
with host.
anyhow, this is the point that people have got to pay attention right now. If you don't start protecting your bloodline, your food resources, your structure around your home, you ain't going to have it. Because until other things change, we've got to deal with what we have right now in our circumstances of the situation. Okay, now I'm trying to find the other point, because the other point is I did find the law, the Paper Reduction Act, where the government is totally funded by the banks, on the interest of the banks. And see, this is the point that we're not supposed to be paying our water, food bills. That only applies to elected and public officials. That only applies to lawful bloodline Americans. Elected and public servants do not have that right or privileges. They get a paycheck. They get money to offset because they're not under 192 in that structure. So that's why they get a paycheck, so that way they have employment, so that way they don't write off their basics. It's not like you go out and buy a Mercedes-Benz or yachts on this structure. We're talking your basic food, water, electricity, your basic survival needs, you know, basic transportation. You're not entitled to a Mercedes. You know, a lot of these immigrants are out there pushing, Freedom Law School. All right, we're talking immigrants pushing all this stuff on people. And the people are going to jail. These other guys are making money off of the basic dumbass stupid people. They're making an income off of people who are lacking intelligence and education, because they get into something, they believe it, they don't verify it. Now, I had a question that was asked to me this afternoon to justify continental marshals compared to a federal marshal. Well, that one is very, very simple. Continental is European structure. It is not of the United States. Everybody says George Washington started the Continental Marshals. Read the real history. George Washington started the Marshals. The original structures of the United States Marshals, the only lawful structure in this government system, lawful government. Remember, sheriffs didn't come in force until 1888. And that was done by a governor's action. Okay, so we didn't have sheriffs on that. We had marshals. The marshals' jobs were to round up immigration and ship them back, and to go after deserters of our military structure. And immigration, they were supposed to send home. That's part of 1801, where, I don't know, the Marines were formed, and they have some nice Marine song they sing. You know, if you actually listen to this song, this goes all the way back to the structure of Thomas Jefferson. And I get people trying to slam Thomas Jefferson to me all the time. And it's like, folks, you have to come up to with a reality point. Just because you have a different knowledge base today compared to somebody did 200 years ago or 150 years ago, you cannot sit there and say they knew this or they knew that and they should have known this or they should have known that. You have to come to the reality of real world, because they're going by what their knowledge is back then. Okay, just like our forefathers did in this country. You know, our forefathers sat down and, oh, what was that they did with the natives? They smoked hemp and they drank rum. The natives brought the hemp, and foreigners, our forefathers who wrote the Constitution, that came from England and a couple other countries, they're the ones who actually wrote the papers that started this country. So when people get off in these different directions and try to get you turned around, it's people get so run around in confusion, that people don't get a lot of stuff. It's like the South. When we went to war with the South, when the South walked out of the congressional record March 27th, 61, when they walked out, they gave up their immunity. It's that simple. They gave it up. All right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts in this structure. That's the whole point. If we don't sit there and realize that we have a Constitution that gives us rights, not privileges. And everybody goes, oh, the Bible gives me rights. The Bible doesn't give you 1 ounce of rights at all. If you really look and read the Bible, you have no rights by the Bible. Because you're going by Christianity of a controlled religion. The only thing that gives you rights is the Constitution, from freedom of slavery, freedom of religion. The Bible doesn't give you that. The Constitution gives you that, but not the Bible. People go, oh, you got to read this passage in the Bible, and you got to read that passage in the Bible, and it says this. The funniest thing about life is you cannot interpretate somebody else's structure. You can't interpret it. It has to be fact. I know the tree grows out of the dirt and the ground. I know that the food, I watch the carrots grow up. These are things that you see, that you actually can physically see. I go by basically, as some would say, science. When you see it, you believe it. Hearsay? Can't go by hearsay. I've tried to do that before in the past, and that never worked. That's all fantasy. To me, that's like, a lot of things, like good old Disney movie. The fantasy. So we have to go by what we're looking at today. We have to go by what our structure is today in our front of our face. And if we don't sit there and comprehend this structure today of what's going on in front of us for the future, you're not going to have a future. Neither am I. Nobody else is. See, you guys don't get one point. I got serious medical issues. I have no bloodline. What the hell do I care? I'm just a guy that cares for people. Once I had different beliefs, but then I realized, family and all that turned out to be a movie to me, fantasy. So, but those who have got it, who know it, don't lose it, because if you lose it, you lose everything. Even if you believe in your Bible beliefs, the First Amendment gives you that right, not privilege, that right, so long as you're lawful bloodline American. You cannot come to this country from a foreign country and say, oh, well, we have this and we have that, and we are going to do, what do they call that, like Cinco de Mayo Day. We're Mexican today. We're Chinese tomorrow. We're Russian the next week. sorry, the Constitution is the law of the land. And that's the bottom line of it. And if we don't start enforcing the Constitution, you know, that's why I've got the other paper I'm finishing up with a recall on the Cape Brown, the governor, the terrorist. You know, and when I get that done, anybody can use that or follow up and do whatever they want. But see, the thing is, when your family is destroyed by these elected and public servants, and I mean destroyed, if you don't stand up, I mean, another perfect example is like what's going on with the Mundys. You know, I don't comprehend why they're not filing their charges on these people. Okay? I mean, but the other point, it comes out that they had contracts with them with uranium, with Hillary Clinton, with the British and the Russian government. You know, so maybe some of these people didn't realize the contract they got into. Okay, we could rationally and reasonably comprehend that. Anybody could comprehend that. Okay, but see, that's where they have to sit there and come out and tell the facts compared to having people running around in circles. You know, we've got to stop this stuff that we're running around in circles. You know, I mean, I had other direction I wanted to go tonight, and Dave's got a couple things, but like I said, the one question people were emailing to me today, the separation. Well, you know, I can sit there and claim I'm a judge. But if I'm under, let's say, and I'm going to use this as a perfect example because I have had a congregation, okay? I'm a registered member, registered church. I have my paperwork that says that, you know, I am a non-profit organization, which I'm not. State of Oregon said they couldn't handle it because I wouldn't play by their game, and I filed my rights as that structure in it. That's why the state of Oregon recused all that structure. That's why I'm not in that system. I'm not in that corporation system because I own me, and they didn't like that. And that's the point that you have to decide. Either you want to own you, and if you don't own you, you have to know the circumstances of how to regulate your attitude, how you talk to your elected and public servants, how you go forward, because remember, these are your elected and public servants. You want the same respect by these men and women as that you want the same honor and respect that you have. Okay? That's the whole point. You want to have the same respect. So give them the same respect. And that is the same thing that we do this. Now, I would like to thank those elected and public servants who are actually being honorable in their elected and public servants positions. But remember, a lot of these elected and public servants, they can't come out and say this, that, and the other thing, because you got to remember, 40% of the public servants are against the ones that want to do it right. Because if they did that, they wouldn't have the high income they get. You know, it's like Cape Brown, our governor, spending money, taking public money, and literally going gamble with public money. Now it turns out in the newspaper, she wants to sell the state corporations and elected and public employees unions to the highest bidder. I mean, come on, people. Are you actually paying attention to any reality? She wants to sell your government to the highest bidder, and you guys don't give a shit. And everybody wants to bitch about Trump. Well, Trump's running a corporation. That's what Cape Brown is supposed to be doing. But under the 13th Amendment, she can't. She knows this. She's a con. She's an attorney. She's a lawyer, liar. If you look up the dictionary of lawyer and attorney, that means a liar. So it's amazing when you look up and comprehend the true reality instead of having people trying to convince you of something else. And once we start doing that and stop going about everybody's opinions, you know, I mean, it's like I had conversation or contact with somebody that I haven't had contact in years ago. And I'm trying to figure out if she's trying to set me up through the Democratic Party. Then through that, 2006, the governor, Cape Brown, mayor, city, all these people went after me, you know, tried to put me in federal prison and said my broken neck was a fake. My neck on my job. Well, my neck was proven broken. The Department of Justice came out and said my neck was broken on record. And they said that these people went after trying to prosecute me. Oh, because I wouldn't sign their contract called democracy and my rights over to the state of Oregon Corporation. This is actually in the federal structure filed. You know, so this is the point. I've been through this. I've been through it where they try to put me in federal prison for telling the truth. You know, I've been through this with the Department of Justice more than once, and in the state of Oregon, you know, state attorney general's covering up for them. This is a fact. This is true. So what I'm telling you, and the stuff that even the stuff that me and Dave wrote for Judge Scalia, all right, this is real. You people go, oh, well, we want these things to help us. Well, how about if you actually took a look at what me and Dave wrote on the constitutional structure of separation of lawful and legal in the country? You autograph that and file that. It's already been filed in the courts. It's already been filed in Congress. It's already been filed and stamped by the Oregon State Secretary of State, Kate Brown, office. Got Kate Brown's signature on it, so she knows it's real. So what I'm filing on her, oh, she has it already in record that she knows she's committing treason because I have a stamped filed record stating she knows it. Is anybody comprehending how to play the game and understanding their system the way they wrote it? So she's already admitted to the structure in that. It's in the file of the Secretary of State's office. Nobody's disputed it. The governor herself has not even disputed the last one I filed with her 2 months ago. So, you know, and that's why I'm filing the treason charges now. You know, I mean, they're trying to protect all this stuff, folks. And if you don't stop doing this stuff, running around in circles, you're not going to have your bloodline. Mine's dead. You know? You have yours. Think about it. Open your mind. Quit being so confused over stupidity. And know to protect yourself. If you don't stand up, you're not going to have your bloodline. Lawful or legal, and prove it. That means when you're legal, going into court saying, hey, I know how to do this because I'm a citizen, and knowing the separation of sovereign versus citizen. Okay? Because a citizen is a British subject under the 14th Amendment. Sovereign means I'm lawful bloodline. You know? It is knowing the difference. And I wanted to go off in a different direction, but I had people that were throwing some questions my way to get going down this road. I'll get into those numbers here in a little bit that people were asking for the numbers of different agencies. But I want to turn the floor over to Dave because I've been going on for a little longer than I planned on. And then we'll get into some other questions that people will have after Dave gets going. So Dave, my friend, let me turn the floor over to you, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Ed. I'll tell you what I'm going to do because we have been shortchanging our listeners. And I want to open this up to Q&A right away because we need to consider those who have called in and have questions for us. So let's start Q&A now, and then I'll bring in what I want to bring in later, okay?
Q&A session has started.
Anybody has a question, just log in and star 6, I think it is, and you should be live.
It's star 6.
Anybody have any questions?
Go ahead.
I was just saying I believe it's star 6-1 to get into this session, and then I can click next and next and next.
Okay, star 6-1. Okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was star 6.
So I don't even know what we got up there right now.
This is your opportunity to speak up on any subject.
Okay. Well, apparently nobody's speaking up at this point, so if they want to flag in, we'll let you flag in. We are working to improve the system, so we got another couple outlets so that way we could get a internet set up so you can type in questions as well, so you don't have to speak up on things like that. We are working on that. So, Dave, I'm going to turn the floor back over to you. So, Seeing that we're not getting anybody speaking up right now, go ahead and with what we were going.
Okay, we have a major decision out of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I mentioned this last.
Hold on, Dave. Go ahead.
We do have the callers. So you guys just didn't give them enough time to say hello.
Oh, well, bring him on. Him or her.
713, you're up.
Hey, this is Dave Brister. Just wanted to ask Dave about that. I tried getting on that mygov.gov, and every time I've tried, I haven't been able to get on there to get any of the files or documents that you were talking about. And I mean, I typed it in. I know I typed it in just right.
Okay.
Could it be something? I don't think it's something with my computer.
I'm in front of my computer right now. Let me.
If you got it, I can pass you his link real quick, and you can put it on his information. Because I think you're a friend of Dave's too, ain't you, Dave?
I did post this information on.
I know,
on
but
Facebook.
you're missing a point. I was talking to the other Dave too. Dave, are you and Dave friends?
Yes, sir. I've got him on my Facebook along.
Okay, send him a instant message so he can get that and send you the link instant message so you have it.
Okay, thank you.
Then that way we can cut to the chase right now.
Okay, I typed in this. I typed in, and there's no spaces between these. I typed in mygov.gov/forms. And then that will bring you to another web page.
Yeah, just put it up on our Facebook walls. It'll be easier for them to get to it.
And you just scroll down there until you get to the one you want.
Yes, I know. Just post them up there so that way you can just click on the link and walk through them.
Yeah, but I can't get on my Facebook, remember?
Oh, I didn't know you were fighting that again.
I can't get on Facebook in any way, shape, or form because they hacked me, remember?
You got through that one again, I know. Hang on.
Okay, is it all right?
There's
caller or
as you go down to that second page that comes up, you'll see a government forms just got an update. There's a couple arrows that says Project My USA.
Hmm.
And I'm clicking on it now to see where this goes. Okay, goes to a screen. Starts out with home, the project, the team, the conversation, and developments. It looks like a printed, let's see, there's a PDF limitation, PDF filler, first step, how to help, etc., etc. So I don't know how much all that is because this is new and I haven't had time to look at it.
Okay.
But I'm going to go back to the other page.
Now, you said it was My Forms what?
No, it's mygov.gov/forms. Did you get that?
I think so. I'm just going to cut and let him go chase the cougar on this one.
Let's see, consumer forms by title. That's Australian government. What is Australian
Right.
government?
And when it comes with some of these things that they're saying, oh, you have to pay for the form, We've got the damn administrative rules. No, you don't. The only ones that have to pay for them are elected and public servants, registered church members, voters, and immigration. If you have your bloodline structure proven, you don't have to pay for it. That's what the government started the DNA process all about. Oh, come on.
Anyway, let me see. I want to get off of here because I don't like being hacked while I'm on air. Let's see. Got some forms up here. I'm looking for one particular one. I have to go back into my files and dig it out. Let's see, Fifth Circuit.
You have to work on that one, Dave, because apparently it's not letting me pull that one up on my computer right now, and I know I've seen it before. Oh. I didn't Facebook it, mark it when I should have.
Okay, I've got the ruling from the Fifth Circuit, tax fraud in America on Facebook. This is where I posted it along with my site and all of our accompanying sites, the Oregon Trackers,
Explain to the people why that is so important.
This is extremely important because the Fifth Circuit admitted that the United States and the federal courts have been systematically misapplying the income tax as a non-appropriated direct tax for decades. The clear implication is that literally trillions of dollars have been improperly taken from their rightful owners. That would be you and I, ladies and gentlemen.
That's called property tax, too.
That's correct. Thousands have been victims of legal harassment and intimidation, property seizure, character assassination, and even imprisonment, all based on a fraud. At the same time, it is clear that the explosive, and some would say, republic eroded growth of the federal government over the same period have been financed by the same fraud scheme. Gee, now if government is funded by the banks...
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to overspeak.
If the federal government, as Ed said earlier, is financed by the banks and the money they make from interest, okay, that means we have the banks involved in this fraud scheme. That should not... Now here's the case. The case is Parker, P-A-R-K-E-R, versus Commissioner. They've got it abbreviated here as C-O-M-M'-T, comma, 724, F as in Frank, period, 2D as in David, 2 David, 469. This tax protester has appealed to the tax court decision finding him liable for any tax or considered taxable activity. And so the court, I find this interesting that this decision of the court came out shortly after I sent 60 rulings of the United States Supreme Court, key case rulings that were not found in the IRS tax code, and I sent those to the U.S. Court of Claims along with a letter to President Bush, whereas I claimed
Letter to
20
Trump.
Supreme Court rulings.
Wasn't that Trump you send it to, not Bush?
I'm sorry, Trump. Yeah, Trump and the Supreme Court. And then I told them that since they had been notified, I would call them as a federal witness in my tax case against the IRS that I'm about to file. So one has to find it very interesting that suddenly the Fifth Circuit says, oh, we have been misinterpreting the tax code. It's mainly because in the tax code you won't find a lawful definition of income. You won't find any Supreme Court cases at all listed in the tax code or U.S. code, but yet we have 60 key case rulings out here that define income, that state that Congress by legislation cannot define income since they can't alter the Constitution by legislative acts. So if you have a Congress who can't define income, doesn't that ring a bell in your mind? Ding, 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 ding. Okay? Congress cannot define income. So why are we paying an income tax as individuals?
If I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Toad. Currently on the clock, but I do want to get something out here that's very important. Ed has stated a couple months ago that it'd be a good idea to stock up 4 months of food and 4 months of water, and I just heard this from a veteran today, as of about 30 minutes ago. So, probably be a good idea to go ahead and heed that. With that, I'm going to yield.
Good point.
Thanks, Toasted. So you have a warning out there that be prepared. 4 months of food, stash it away. I would suggest you buy canned goods because if your power goes out, anything that's frozen is going to thaw over a period of time. So make sure you have canned meats on hand, you have canned vegetables, you have everything you need. Okay?
If I may.
Go ahead, May.
Yeah, this is Lynx. We still have other callers that are wanting to ask questions.
Oh, go ahead. All right. Go ahead. We'll shut up and let them speak.
In the spirit of David Buess saying don't want to shortchange them, having you guys go on extreme long things like this kind of does. So we're going to go to the next one.
Okay. Well, we'll shut up and let them take over.
Well, no, you guys are the hosts, but you guys kind of are long-winded.
We don't have a problem. We respect you keeping us in check, so the next one speak.
Okay, David.
So go ahead, and the next caller, you're online.
Next caller, which is 352.
Hey guys, it's Michelle.
Hello.
Well, first of all, I needed some clearance as to what you just brought forth about the food. What did you hear? That they're going to shut down our power and stuff, or what's going on?
Well, no, I've heard that.
No. If I may. Look. He said that they're going to put our financial system in chaos, and I yield.
You got to pay attention. I've been telling everybody this for a long time. When you could go to the bank and they can't, you say, oh, we have no money in the bank. You can't use your ATM because the ATM does not work.
Okay, so that's what you were basing it on.
Point of setting up the structure so that way you can sit there and write off your water, electricity, and food bill so you don't go starving. But see, intelligent people would have worked with people to make sure that this was happening. But majority of the people, 99.9% of the people live in fantasy. They go, oh no. And it's the same thing what Adolf Hitler did to the damn Jews, or what they called Jews, but it wasn't just the Jews. They did it to everybody else. The Jews was not just in the Holocaust of just one race. You know, do some real history, folks. Do some real history. That's the same thing when they took out the natives. It wasn't just the Indians the British government took out. Remember, the British government is the white man that everybody's talking about. So go ahead, Michelle.
I didn't know that, David, that you couldn't get on Facebook. I had shared some videos, recordings on your wall, and Ed on your wall also. There was a video that talked about the 28 principles pertaining to the Constitution, and also what the Foreign Fathers based it off of. What we forgot and what we didn't think about was communism. Remember, that's what was in place before the Constitution was written. So
there
what they did...
communism in this country. That is a lie. The thing is that there was no structure in this country at all, period. The structure of that stuff didn't even start coming into structure until after the British government started arriving.
Well, I'm going to go back to what I was starting to say before you interrupt me. I don't know where you got that from, because that's not what I said.
Smithsonian and doing real histories with the scientists and stuff in California, growing up with the Smithsonian and stuff like that. So we didn't have a communism structure in this country.
I didn't say we did. I said that the communism was in place. Because remember, our foreign fathers, they came from the foreign countries that were under that atmosphere. So when they came,
clarify that with foreign countries.
Argumentative. Y'all are overrunning each other.
Go ahead.
So what I'm trying to explain to the audience is, when remember, there was no Constitution written, nor was the other documentation pertaining to the Constitution. None of that was in place until afterwards. Now, when the Foreign Fathers started to write the Constitution, they were very well aware of what was going on, and that was communism. Now, the democracy movement, that is what they are addressing. Everything that they're doing does not pertain to the Constitution or the real Constitution, because remember, there's two constitutions, and the information that Ed is giving you, he's talking about the fraudulent Constitution, that how we've been deceived. So we have to understand this, because if you don't understand it, then you're not going to understand the confusion between the two constitutions. Go ahead.
Keep going. The floor is yours.
Oh, I thought someone was asking a question.
It doesn't matter. The floor is yours right now. Keep going.
So what I have discovered, and that's what I was sharing on Facebook, there was a teacher, and I was actually blown away, because he was actually telling the true facts pertaining to the Constitution and what it actually meant, and how the Foreign Fathers wrote it. And this is what we have not been taught in our schools, because the information has been spread out. It's not all documented on one document. So we have to learn our history, just like Ed and David are claiming. In order to find out the truth, you have to do your history and learn your history where you've been deceived. But that's how, so in other words, the Foreign Fathers, when they came to the United States, they knew what they were up against. Now what they did is they wrote out 28 different principles pertaining to law as to the Constitution. And then what they did is they defined, out of the 28 notes that they took down regarding principles, what they did is they narrowed it down to 14. And those 14 principles is what is based off of the Constitution. If you learn the principles, this is what we have not been taught. It's the principles. And you have to do your research and find it out. You have to learn those principles. Now, this is what they're not doing. meaning our own government, those in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C.
Servants.
What? Correct, our public servants. Now, what they did is they sold our rights to the Wall Street bankers and the corporations. Remember the treaty. The treaty is very important, and this is part of what we don't know and what we need to learn when we talk about the Constitution and the concepts behind it. We have all been deceived, because what they did is they took the original Constitution, which was based on the true principles, which was off of the 28 principles, and this is where they have deceived us. But once you learn the principles, you apply the principles, which by the way, was about common sense. And the term religion had nothing to do with faith. It had nothing to do with being a Catholic or any other type of form of faith as that religion.
Yes.
The reason why they applied the term religion was because that meant natural law, meaning that our freedom and our rights came from our Creator. That's how they were defining the term and the word religion. It has nothing to do with faith.
They also determined the term sovereign is that you, a man and woman, are the sovereign creation of the Creator.
That's correct. So that's where the term...
You have a bloodline where government is black ink on white paper, has no bloodline. It cannot be sovereign.
That's right. Now, so what our own government did when they destroyed the original Constitution and they made up the fraudulent Constitution, which is what we're going by as of today.
Some people are not.
Well, that's true. Not everybody. Those that are learning, those that know the truth behind it all. And that's why they're snowballing us, because they don't want the truth to come out. And that's why they are up in arms right now in Washington, D.C., because of Trump being in office. Now, I don't know if you haven't noticed, but when I was paying attention to the news media, because I wanted to see just how much stuff they would talk about when Trump went over to, the foreign country to meet with one of those, I can't think of his name. Anyway.
Well, the Saudi kings.
Thank you. Did you notice that they didn't hardly do any publication or talk about it or show those videos on TV, but instead, what were they talking about? Oh, let's impeach them, let's impeach them. Did you notice that?
Well, they talked about the Attorney General having business with the Russians and his insider information, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
He only was in office 3 days and then he got canned, and that's what they've been talking about.
Right. Rather than talking about the good things that he's done and has accomplished, you haven't heard not one thing that he has accomplished. And then they're going to criticize now. They're going to criticize because he didn't use one phrase regarding the communism or the radical acts that have been going on. Well, it just goes to show you.
Michelle, what all Mr. Trump has done over there, but
well, I've seen some of the literature that was actually written, and from what I've noted and what I've read, Trump actually did a very good thing. And what he did is he gave a very strong message, and that was about peace. And I liked. I also.
What I was about to say before you interrupted me, dear.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, is that the things that Mr. Trump is accomplishing over there, or trying to accomplish, is being totally ignored by the media.
Yes, that's exactly right. So now we know who our enemies are, and I'm going to tell you who some of them are, and that's Wall Street, the on Facebook and on the internet, the Wall Street Journal. Anybody that belongs to Wall Street Journal, you need to remove yourself from Wall Street Journal. They're the ones that are giving you the false news on what's going on in this country, in our country.
If I may make a comment to that. Michelle, you are absolutely correct in that statement. For the reason, here's the fact that I know. Now, on YouTube, there's a entity, I'm going to call him an entity because, person, all right, never mind. Anyway, he calls himself PewDiePie. He's got over 50 million followers. Now, the Wall Street Journal started a witch hunt on him, which affected YouTube's monetization. A lot of YouTubers lost out on lots and lots of money because they witch hunted him. They said that he was being racist, and he was basically doing the Heil Hitler with the hand motion, and all that. So they read an article, and a bunch of their advertisers started pulling out. And I'm going to yield.
So, but I want to add one thing real quick before I put the floor back to Michelle that she should have had going.
Go ahead.
But I want to make a personal thank you to Facebook and Mark Zimmerman, because that's the one thing that everybody wants to attack Facebook, but let me tell you one thing. Without Facebook, would you have the education and knowledge you are getting today? So wake up and open your eyes to reality and stop following the train. Go ahead, Michelle.
Well, you are correct on that note too, Ed. That's why we have to do our homework. Now, here's how I discovered certain websites and those that are claiming that they're for America and actually are not for America, is because I was receiving their input of course, in my spam folder. And also, I had signed up for some of their literature to come into my computer. So when I started to see what they were doing and what they were talking about and what they were posting and how they're all going after Trump, well, that was a red flag right there. Now I know what companies or what websites are actually not for America. They're for the democracy movement. And by the way, the democracy movement is communism. So I'll yield and I'll let somebody else jump in on what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. And the video. He's an actual teacher. You can actually contact him to learn more detail about the 28 principles and the principles pertaining to the real and true Constitution.
Go ahead, Michelle. The floor is yours.
Oh, I was opening the floor for those that had any questions.
I just wanted to make a comment. Yeah, you are absolutely correct. I just forget which part.
Don't worry about it. Then if you don't have anything to add, then go ahead, Michelle.
Another thing, too, there's a book out that I would recommend you to go to the store and buy, and it's called The 5,000-Year Leap. The reason why it was called The 5,000-Year Leap is because it has to do with what the Foreign Fathers had put together. The Foreign Fathers knew what we would be facing in the future. So remember, that's why they wrote that Constitution, and that's why we're praising them right now for what they've done, because they had really done their homework. Because remember, they were aware of what we're facing today.
They are aware, too, what Christianity and paganism did to their country.
Correct.
They were aware that they gave us the Constitution to protect us from religious freedom beliefs. You're entitled to your release of freedom to your own beliefs, but you are entitled not to put it out on the street corner and says that I have a right to do this. That's like being gay and lesbian. You have a right to being gay and lesbian. Write a contract between your lovers. Stay out of the damn situation of their system. Learn to use your intelligence and write the contract. Article 1, Section 10. You do a contract. That's why they put it together. Because if you want to do that, that's your constitutional right, not privilege. But you also, too, have to know what the Constitution is, as well as comprehending what the privilege is. Go ahead, Michelle.
Also, that video that I'm talking about, the one that was, it's just a brief. In other words, he's taken his several-hour training courses and he's putting it into different concepts as to based off of the Constitution. So that way you'll understand and realize the truth and how you've been deceived. That video is also on my Facebook wall, which is under Michelle Christensen on Facebook, so you can retrieve it. And it's called, hang on, I'll book in a second. I got to go back and retrieve it. I mean the video.
If I may,
what he called it. It's called We.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's called We Have Been Divided and Conquered. That's the name of the video that I want you to listen to, and that has to do with the 28 principles regarding the Constitution and how it was broken down to 14 principles, etc. So that's the video. I highly recommend you to look it up and listen to it. Because after I listened to it, I can tell you the gentleman that gave out the information, he was 100% correct. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because of what I have looked up in the past and what Ed has looked up, including David. So I'm just backing up what he's claiming because of what we know as to us doing our research.
Okay,
thank you, Michelle.
Yes. We still have 2 more callers waiting, so just tell me when to cycle through.
Go ahead, let them speak.
All right. Before you do that, Lynx, go ahead and bring the other caller on the board and unmute Michelle.
You wait. Let the speakers in first. Go ahead, Lynx. Let the speakers in.
That's caller 541.
Ed.
Oh, hey, how you doing? How you doing, Melissa?
Doing pretty good. How about you and Dave?
We're doing good. I haven't quite finished that idea yet, but I will have done to you sometime tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
I know you wanted to discuss a little bit about my situation.
Well, the main situation I want to discuss is the positive one that's going on. The other one, we could deal with that after we get that other thing done. But my main thing is I like to let people know what you are doing right now, and because you're making slow transition, even though it should be faster, but it takes a little time. It'll be coming. But go ahead.
Okay, so a little update on what my situation was is my son has been in foster care for approximately just under 22 months, and it was ordered in a contested permanency hearing in the state of Oregon that reunification continue when the state of Oregon went for termination of parental rights. They were denied that, and the paperwork was signed on March 15th, filed with the courthouse March 21st, and I have been for this whole month receiving a minimum of 8 hours per week with my son at home, which is double the hours that I've been getting for pretty much the last 2 years.
Good for you.
Glad to hear the good news.
So we're
go ahead.
waiting.
Finish up your thought on it.
I'm just waiting for him to come home and actually stay home.
Well, yeah, no, we're on the same path with that. But see, now, once we get the other thing going, because see, the thing is paying attention to what rocked the boat. Okay, and that's the point I'm trying to get you to comprehend how things rock the boat, but you're still learning. But the main thing is you got to focus on your bloodline. Without that, the other ones you could deal with later, but right now you got to focus going from the bottom up now, if that makes sense.
Yes.
The way it has to be right now is not a choice. It's just the way it is. So, but yeah, I got to work the other one because I'm going to be getting the other point that when I send that letter out that we've discussed, you comprehend that I'll be sending the recall out with the indictment with Kate Brown with that too, don't you?
I did not know they were going out at the same time.
Well, of course they have to.
And make sure, Ed, when you're doing all these, you put this in as claims. Just don't make statements. Make them claims. Because without a claim, there is no remedy.
Well, I know that, yeah, the claim. I know, yeah. But that's like, you know, because I'm claiming the treason on her because I can prove it.
Anything further?
Say that again, Dave?
I said, is there anything further that she has to offer? Because we don't want to waste the airtime. We want to get
you got more to add to that?
So that the next person.
Not at this point.
Okay.
Okay.
Then let the other one go.
Yield.
All right.
Got it. What was the next?
Next caller is 304. You're on.
Yeah, this is Daniel, and I've been trying to get this information for a while. The corporate charter number for the U.S. corporation. Where is the charter filed, and when was it filed, and how do I get a hold of a copy of the charter document?
Dave, do you have that in front of your mail? You just emailed.
I have actually written Congress and asked that very same question. Where is your charter? Where is your bond? Who are your board of directors? Who are your trustees? Who are your shareholders? The only thing I could find out on my own is that it is a French corporation, but that's about as far as I could get on it before I got booted off the internet.
Okay, now, is their charter number 052714196?
Say again?
Is the charter number 052714196?
Let me punch it in on the computer and I'll see what kind of information I get.
Am I open?
Point. I'm glad you had a number.
Well, I've got that from Joanne, but I'm not sure it's right.
Okay. Let Dave will do that. I will do that.
Spotted Bear?
Go ahead, Dave.
I say, is that Joanne Spotted Bear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Michelle, yes, you are open still.
I would recommend that you call the Federal Trade Commission's department. I have a number I can give you. It's 1-877-438-4338.
4338.
Yes.
Okay.
The Federal Trade Commission deals with any agency or corporation identity. So if that's what you're trying to find out, that's who you have to call.
What I'm trying to do, Michelle, is establish in people's heads that when we served the U.S., we weren't serving our country. A farmer serves the country, the land.
Right.
But we were serving the U.S. corporation, and they took us as franchises by fraud.
And shipping you overseas to war.
Right. Well, and that's where that's what I earlier. I don't know if you were on the call, but that's why I was making it clear that what happened is when those in Congress, our enemies, when they removed the original Constitution, that's when the fraud started. Because remember, there was also treaties signed, and the treaties gave rights into the United States. And of course, now that also plays into the bonds and the currency regarding to our dollar. And this is why there's so much confusion going on. And of course, I'm still learning too. And that's why I was telling you earlier on the phone that Social Security is not part of that group.
Well, they argued that they were. They argued that they were part of that group.
And, well,
a pretty unicorn princess, and guess what? That doesn't matter.
That's a good point.
Does that mean you have floral paint on you too?
Well, I can tell you this: the IRS is a identity by itself. And now, from what David and I have looked up, and Ed, I can tell you right now that they have no standing, because the only person who has standing is the Treasury of the state. And that's where, under Title 26 and Title 15, Title 13, Title 10, and Title 14, if you start looking up those codes, you'll realize what I'm trying to explain to you, because Congress is violating the law. And this is why we've been so deceived, because we don't know those laws and those codes. So the IRS, it has no standing, and that's why the word volunteer was put into place. Now, what I've discovered under identity theft preventions as being a victim regarding the IRS, from what I'm understanding now, I might not have it all correct yet, but from what I'm getting, the IRS is basically saying if you fill out their form but do not add your Social Security number or an ID number as they're requesting, you can actually remove yourself from the IRS.
Yes.
Regarding the taxes. And
if I may, real quick.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Title 408. Don't ever forget that. And one note I want to put out there real quick is my wife called me from the hospital asking for my Social Security number so they could put it on the birth certificate. I said no, Title 408, and I yield.
That's a good point.
So what happened? What happened at the deal when you said it then? If you're going to say it, tell all of it. Don't just say half-truth.
I'm not informed. I gave the information to the party that I needed to, but I didn't hear anything back, so I have no further information to add because I don't have it.
Thank you. That's what you need to explain, because they haven't responded back for what your response was. But when you walked in, you claimed that after you served them when she was pregnant, they had a different attitude.
If I may?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Michelle, you're aware that between 1935 and 1938, they removed the public law books out of the law libraries and put us into public policy. And you're familiar with FE versus GE, Supreme Court ruling, which states that judges do not rule on statutes, codes, and policies.
That's correct.
The executive administrators rule on statutes, codes, and policies. The judges rule on law. So we have no judges because everybody's ruling on statutes, codes, and policies. There are no judges in the land. And we're a lawless land. We're in statutes, codes, and policies. We're in corporate statutes, codes, and policies in violation of the law.
Well, that's correct. Now, the law applies to the corporate as to the contract regarding what we had put together as regarding the Constitution. And those laws were put into place from the people. What happened is that's why they got rid of the original Constitution and made up the fraudulent Constitution. And that's why they removed the amendments meaning to the 13th Amendment. Because the 13th Amendment was about slavery. It was not about being black and white. The 13th Amendment had to do with the law itself. Meaning that...
Wait a minute, Michelle, stop and say that again.
The 13th...
Black and white?
Black and white. In other words, it had nothing to do with race.
No, race is religion. Color is what they're talking about. Because race does not mean color. Race is religion, and that's what the Supreme Court and Black Law Dictionary states.
I'm going to state a fact. You're a woman. You're not a different color. Because we all have the same blood running through our veins. I yield.
No, we don't have the same blood running through our veins. My blood is not your blood.
Well, is it red? Is it red? Is it oxygen? I'm looking at the scientific point of view. I yield.
I have a different type of blood than you do.
He wasn't talking. Ed, he wasn't talking about blood as identity, different identity. He was talking about blood, meaning that it's all red.
Yeah, but so turtles have red blood, deer have red blood, most animals have red blood.
But we were talking about race. When I was talking about the 13th Amendment, I was referring it as race.
He came off on a point that was not where you were at. Go ahead.
No, he did. What he was doing was defining what I was talking about as to the 13th Amendment as to race, meaning as being white, either being white skin or black skin. That's what I was referring.
Red. That's what I was saying. Every animal has red blood in their body. Every animal does.
Right.
So do fish.
Right.
Well, Ed, you do make a valid point for one reason. Congress said that we are all cattle, so we are all animals. I yield.
Well, I can say this. Congress knows that we are alive, and they have us in their verbiage, in their own paperwork. They have us as a living soul under natural. So anything that's natural, that pertains to the living soul. Anything that's not natural pertains to the corporation. And that's why you have to know what code you fall under, because they fall under, I believe it's 7701-1, which means the corporation's identity. We fall under, go ahead.
If I may, you look up the word person in Black's Law, 6th edition. It says a natural human. Now, if you look up human, of course, it says see beast.
Right. That's right.
Okay. So you're talking about they referring to us as natural beast.
Well, that's correct, because we all are animal. In reality, I mean, we all are some type of a beast or being, right? So
but that's not specific enough for me. I refer to myself as a man.
Well, of course you do. Of course you're a man, and I'm a woman.
And I'm not a beast.
I understand that.
I'm not a beast. If you look in the OSHA manual, it says the purpose for the establishment of OSHA is to preserve the federal human resource. So to preserve the federal beast resource.
If I may, sir, real quick, listen to what you just said. We are a resource. That's exactly right. We are their resource.
No, I do not claim to be their resource. They're supposed to be my resource.
Exactly. How does
right.
How does the de facto anything have jurisdiction over the sovereign?
They don't, or they're not supposed to.
I am not here to be consumed, to be extracted, manipulated, consumed, and disposed of.
Well,
that's what resource means.
That's right.
And so,
now
I'm not a beast.
That's right. Now, keep in mind. That's why the people have been deceived. Now, granted, you've done your homework, and there's other people that have done their homework, and we're catching on. And because of what we've been doing and what we've been talking about, we're educating the other parties that aren't aware of what we know. That is true. And that's why I said earlier that's why they destroyed the original Constitution that defined it. Now, I was also talking about principles. Remember, principle is the key. The Founding Fathers, when they wrote the original Constitution, they based the original laws as to the true law under natural law. That's why they were using the phrase religion. The phrase religion has nothing to do with faith, meaning with the church or the different churches. And of course, that's where the trickery comes in. We've been deceived. We've been taught what is not really what we should have been taught. Nobody has been taught in school, I know I haven't been, the true meaning under the 28 principles,
Well,
which was narrowed down. What?
The purpose for education, and there is no Department of Education in the Constitution, by the way. The
Right.
purpose for their so-called education is to manipulate their human resource, what they're claiming to be a human resource, a beast resource,
Right.
to train the mules. That's the reason for the Department of Education. It wasn't to educate anybody. It was to train them, to teach them, get up, hee-haw, whoa, follow the road, keep the blinders on, That's what the purpose.
The Founding Fathers, when they wrote the Constitution, that's why they used the phrase, you need to know the law. When the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, it was based on natural law.
Right, but Michelle, Dan had a point there with the 1968 education, because remember, we didn't have education boards until 1968. Prior to that, most of the schools grew their own food at the school.
That's exactly right.
Brought the meat to the school to feed the children. They didn't have property taxes and all this
That's right.
corporation to feed the kids.
Because that's exactly right. And that's where, now remember on that thought.
That was only.
If I may.
Oh.
In 1947, the League of Nations put together this thesis, antithesis, and consensus, and started interfering in our schools and writing the manuals for the teachers.
That
was in 1947.
That
was 5 years before I was born.
Now, you can even go deeper, because going back to the 1300s, that's when, because remember, people, they didn't want, the women couldn't say certain things, they couldn't vote, remember that? So there's a lot of things that plays into our...
True, a woman could vote so long as that the land was properly noted to her by her husband.
Well, under that scenario, she was allowed to vote, but normally women were not allowed to vote.
No, the structure goes back, yes, that's true, but the proper structure was that the man had to properly note the voting rights and the land to the woman. If it was
correct.
If I may.
Would you wait a minute? Let me finish what I'm saying first.
Argumentative and overstepping each other. Everybody, I will mute everybody, period, if you guys don't stop stepping on each other.
Anyhow, but it gets to the point is, they were doing that because remember, people didn't vote until Lincoln, after Lincoln. Prior to that, we didn't have people voting in this country. The local structures did not vote. If they needed something, they got together basically at the bar of the school and they decided what they needed. Voting didn't come in until after the Civil War.
That's right.
So let's talk about proper history instead of confusing people when they think that voting might went all the way back to the 1770s when it never did.
Well, and Ed, that's a good point, and that's.
Wait. Let Michelle respond, and then we'll come back to you. Go ahead, Michelle.
And that's what I'm trying to explain, because what we're doing is we're confusing. In other words, when we talk about things, we have to make sure that our listeners are grasping that we're talking about the fraudulent Constitution and not the original Constitution, and this is where the people have been deceived. This goes back many, many years. This didn't just happen overnight.
Correct. Okay, then let the other speaker go.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. All right. This is Toasted. Before I have to hang up, I want to just say something. Your vote counts, but it is based on how much land you own. And with that, I'm going to yield and I got to hang up.
Yeah, well, see, I'll close with that one. I don't vote because so long as I'm not part of the British structure, you don't have any entitlement, any rights to be owned. You have entitlements. I don't vote to give my land or anything away or taxes to anybody, because voting technically is the crime because our funding is supposed to go to we the people, not foreigners. And I'll put the floor back to Michelle on that one, because I don't vote. I don't play that game.
Michelle, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, originally you had to be a freeholder to be an elector.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was no voting. There was electors. But in order to participate as an elector, you had to be a freeholder.
And what years were those? Do you recall? I have a concept, but do you comprehend?
I know if you look at the West Virginia Constitution, it speaks about the freeholders.
Right.
And then somehow the elections has got twisted into voting. And that's not what it was about. You had to be a sovereign. In order to be a sovereign, you had to have, in some capacity, something you was the king over.
Right. Well, here's what happened.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Here's what happened, and you are correct. You are 100% correct as to what you just said. Here's what happened. Our government, meaning those in Congress, when I use the word
we are the government. Let's make it completely clear and understandable.
Those in Congress that are in our government, as to our elected servants that we have chosen, and by the way, that's why anybody that uses the phrase democracy, they are our enemy, because what the democracy movement is after which is the Agenda 21, which is also the New World Order, which has to do with international state or international law. That's what the democracy movement is after, which is communism. So anybody that talks about democracy, that's what they're referring to. Now, they're not going to come out and say that that's communism, but that's what we're facing. That's why they're forcing the Sharia law down our throats. That's why they're after and they're for bringing the Sharia law into the United States. Because the Sharia law is not a religion or a form of faith that we believe in anyway. It's a man-made structure. Now, don't you find it amazing how they're going to take your faith away from you as our creator? And they're going to tell you, you can't talk about your creator, your God. Oh, God forbid, and you can't pray. Oh, but we're going to allow the Sharia law to pray in our schools and in our country. And don't forget about the treaties. You know, see, there's a lot that plays into it regarding the treaties. See, the treaty movement is what's giving these foreign countries the movement into the United States. That's where they're because when you sign a treaty, now you're giving a foreign country some rights. You follow me as to that? So that's what we're facing.
I follow you, Michelle, but I'm not in favor of this diarrhea law.
I'm not either. A lot of us are not for it, but
I will tell you this: the first recorded democracy in history was when Moses went up the mountain, and I'll yield the floor for the rest of the night now.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I want you to finish that one up, Dan. So that way they know what you're referring to that, because most people don't get what you're referring to that. And that was part of the movie with Charles Heston when he was playing Moses. So please up that point so people get what you mean.
When Moses went up the mountain, there was nobody there to rule them.
That's right.
So they had anarchy. They had mob rule. whatever the crowd wanted is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the strong prevailed over the weak, and the wicked prevailed over the good. And that was the first recorded democracy in history, was whenever Moses was crossing the desert, and he went up the mountain and left them behind. And I yield the floor for the rest of the night.
Well, Ron, you hit it right on the nail. You actually hit it right on the nail. That is what we are facing. We are facing today an anarchy. You are 100% correct.
Michelle, that was Daniel.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Say what?
Daniel. Yeah, I was responding back to you, Daniel. You were 100% correct. That is what you just said.
Well,
And that,
I'm going to let you go now, and
Okay.
I'll let you guys have your discussion.
Thanks for the call and your question.
Yeah, well, I've been listening for a while, but I'm still trying to find out what this corporate charter number is.
Yeah, work on it, because I know I have a list of them all somewhere. I haven't got to that point of finding them.
Well, if you call the trade commission, Ron, you should be able to get an answer.
Not Ron.
It's okay. She can call me anything she wants to.
Do it, Dan.
Was it Ron? I thought you said his name was Ron.
No, Dan.
Daniel.
Oh, Dan. I'm sorry, Daniel. Daniel, call the trade commission. You should be able to get an answer.
Well, I'm afraid they're not going to want to answer that question, but
Probably
I'll try
not. But they're the one. Well, or the Treasury of the state then.
Well, the state treasurer will not answer the question here for the state either. I've tried that already.
Oh, okay.
I just sent you and Michelle, Ed, the listing of the numbers for states and cities.
Okay.
Hopefully that will guide you in the right direction.
So email me, Dan, and I'll get that list to you.
Okay. I'm still up to the challenge of getting this computer to run the way I want it to, but I'm going to let you go, and thanks for doing that for me, Dave. And
you're more than welcome. I hope this will help you. I also sent to Ed a couple of numbers that were tied to the Federal Trade Commission and Canada, which I think somewhere in there you'll find a number for the U.S. I'm going back a long way in history to find that information, I'll tell you.
Well, I know it's intimidating to an executive administrator when you walk into his administration room, a.k.a. courtroom, and cite his corporate charter number and cite him as executive administrator under FE versus GE.
Yep, and he's...
Yeah, wait a minute. Let me get that case again. What was the first part?
Say what?
What was that
Traded
case?
on Dun & Bradstreet as a for-profit corporation.
What was the case again? What versus GE?
FE versus GE. FE versus GE says that executive administrators, the judges do not rule on statutes, codes, and policies. Judges rule on law.
And the point I want everybody to think about. When you are going to court, the first thing you want to ask the judge is, are you a constitutional court?
Well, even deeper than that, are you a court of law or are you a corporate administration? Because they're corporate administrations. They're not, according to FE versus GE, they're corporate administrations. They're not courts.
Trying to entrap the judge so he can be reclused. Listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I may.
Are you a constitutional court? Have you a copy of your constitutional oath of office? Why are we flying a color of law fraud in your court
Yeah.
How do you plan to make amends?
Well, if I may, Dave, whenever I went before the judge here, his oath of office and his bond is 30 years old, and he's never renewed it, and they claim under West Virginia statute that they don't have to.
Does not matter. The Constitution is supreme law of the land. You have to have a constitutional oath of office.
Oh, but see, the point is, the reason why he's saying that, don't they have term limits?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. And so they don't renew their oath of office ever. And then they got the wrong Constitution on there. They got the U.S. Constitution, 1771. So they're federal corporations.
Well,
that is
here's
correct.
the deal. In this republic, and this is your next statement, in this republic, we have to have constitutional courts with constitutional judges, or you're running a de facto government.
Well, I'll put it to you this way, Dave. Whenever I cited it for conspiracy to interfere with justice, they simply refused to accept the charges.
That's fine. You're reclused for prejudice.
Well, the West Virginia Supreme Court did the same. In fact, they threw the charges when they were cited for misprision of felony. They threw the charges in the garbage can, and when it got to federal court, they separated all the affidavits from the case, said the case was frivolous without the evidence. That's the way the corporate courts work. They've removed 28 affidavits from the case, all brought under Evidence Rule 301, and all had over a year to challenge them, and they were all removed from the case, and the case was frivolous without the evidence.
Well, and that would be true.
And that's why the Supreme Court of the United States ruled all courts are crooked.
That's right. Well, here's another thought too. Since we're on that subject, that's why judges, administrative judges, they're not supposed to be voicing their opinion because they're supposed to be basing their opinion only on law. They're not supposed to be putting their personal opinions in the case. But of course, that's what they're doing.
Well, Michelle, here they act as the prosecuting attorney as well. They'll argue the case for the prosecutor.
And that's illegal. See, that's the part.
I know
that's
that.
illegal. I know you know.
But they don't allow a record here.
Well, of course. And the reason why they don't want the record is because.
Your Honor?
Say what?
Is this a court of record, Your Honor? If not, I demand a change of venue.
Well, when we put in for transcripts, 22 transcripts, we were allowed 2, but under West Virginia Code 54, let's see, I can't remember the code number right now. But anyway, the judge controls the record. He determines what goes in the record and what does not go in the record, and there's no record.
Though. He's not supposed to. That would be a bias move on his part.
Well, that's the way the statutes are set up in the West Virginia Corporation.
Well, that's the fraud. Of course, that's the fraud. See, you're talking about you're talking.
We're going by corporate policy, not law and statute.
There you go. That's exactly
right.
You hit it right on the nail.
Well, statute's not law according to the Supreme Court.
That's right.
According to the Supreme Court, statute is not law. Under FE versus GE.
That is correct.
That's administrative rule.
That's correct because statutes and codes define the law. In other words, they help you to interpret what the meaning of the law. And that's why statutes and codes are not law, because they define the law. So what they're doing is they're taking the definition of what they think the law means as to the law you're addressing, and that's how they're committing the fraud. And you hit it right on the nail. That's what we're facing in our courts.
Well, they aren't courts. They are not courts. According to FE versus GE. That's an executive administrator up there, and that's an executive policy meeting. That's not a court. That is not a court.
Their corporate courts do not have jurisdiction over you, the private citizen. They only have jurisdiction.
Well, I'm not a citizen.
Citizen is a British government word.
There's actually thank you, David. I was just going to back you up on that, because that's another thing we have to be careful when we say that, because that's a false statement. Because citizen is a subject, which is what Ed is referring to, which he's correct. But just because you use the word citizen or the word person doesn't mean that you're subjecting yourself into the corporation, unless, of course, you're filling out a corporation's documentation or an affidavit pertaining to the corporation. That's where you're going to subject yourself to the corporation, just like with the IRS forms. So I want to make that clear, because that's by us saying that to our listeners, we're misinforming them on that scenario. Just like
be accurate in your words. You have to say that if you're jumping off a hillside, you're jumping off a hillside. I didn't fall off of it when I jumped.
Right. So it depends on how you use your stats, how you're using that status. Let's put it that way.
Status, is knowing the decision of your wording.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And as you're using that term or that phrase, as you being the personal the individual, doesn't mean just because you're saying the word person that you're putting yourself in that corporation's network. Unless, of course, you're filling out their forms and you're applying it that way, then you don't know what you're talking about and you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, you're missing a point here, because when you're talking to a cop, that's exactly the way they interpret it. They're trained that way.
Oh, that's correct, and that's why you have to know. A person would be a
natural beast, according to their training. That would be a natural beast or a fiction.
Right.
Okay.
Well, now wait a minute. Let me correct you on that, because I did some research on that with the police department and the sheriff's department. In the
they've never lied to you?
Oh, I didn't say that they don't lie. A lot of people lie.
Oh, have you ever went to school for it? Do you know? I don't care what they tell you who you're talking to.
I'm not talking about who I spoke to. I'm talking about what falls under criminal law. And in the criminal law,
the injured party rulings.
Well, Ed, I'm not talking about rulings pertaining to the court. I'm talking about the law itself, the criminal law.
Everything else that they apply, including what a cop, what a public servant applies, is statute codes and administration. And there are actually statute codes and administration numbers that actually mean lawful, bloodline, American too, in their structure.
Right. That's what I was trying to point. That's what I was trying to point out.
I mean, it's like, people need to read.
Give me a call and I'll see what else I can do for you.
Oh, I don't know, but I can get it from Ed. I have Ed's.
All right.
Thanks for
Daniel? Oh, David. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you, Dave, and thank you, Michelle, and
you're welcome.
Thank you, Ed.
No problem. We'll get it straight one day here, Daniel.
Yeah.
I've been trying to find out about this corporation for over 10 years.
Well.
I found out something that might help you, David. Go ahead.
And that's where it stands, Michelle. They do not want people to know about the corporation.
That's correct.
Screw them up.
Well, and you hit it right on the nail, David. That's the problem. See, everybody that, and we're not alone, by the way. This even affects lawyers and attorneys, by the way, that are trying to get the truth out, and they are being penalized also. So this goes very deep. This, let's face it. I mean, how many people have been killed trying to get the truth out? They don't. They don't want the truth out. Now, I discovered something here.
That messes up their retirement fund, boy.
It sure does. Now, I discovered something here that might be some info that might give us an answer to what we're trying to look for. Hang on a minute. I wrote it down. I'm looking for my notes. I think it was called I think it's AIG. Yeah, AIG. Look that up. Huh?
Know what that is, don't you, Michelle?
I'm sorry. I say that again.
I said AIG is the biggest insurance company there is. They insure the retirement system of the federal government.
Right. Well, guess what? See, it all comes down. Remember, I was telling you, David, when we were looking up these laws and codes pertaining to the IRS and the rules and the regulations. It comes down to the bottom line is it comes down to where the money is. And the money is pertaining to the insurance companies and the banks. And so I discovered that they are the main supplier when it comes to all these corporations.
Yes, we know that, Michelle. That is the one thing AIG is actually is former GE Corporation. And if you go back in history when GE Corporation was a public stock, that only people that could buy the stock when it came out was actual lawful Americans. If you were an immigrant, you couldn't buy the stock. Remember, this goes back to 1931.
Right.
Oh, and I recently sent Trump an email.
Bankruptcy Act, when they did the Bankruptcy Act, right before they did the Bankruptcy Act, and then after they did the Bankruptcy Act, AIG came into full swing, and that was supposed to be part of Resolution 192.
Okay. David, go ahead and repeat what you were saying, because Ed didn't know that you were talking, so...
I'm sorry about that, Dave.
So go ahead and repeat.
I guess I cut you in before you were finished speaking. But AIG is the insurer for the federal retirement system.
That's right.
And so what did Obama do? He bailed out AIG because they were in bankruptcy.
That's right.
That includes the federal post office federal retirement fund. That's why they went private.
Right.
It also has to do, David, it also has to do with the currency, which goes back to 1933. So the Trade Commission, the insurance company, and the banks, those are your three major suspects as to who's controlling what and who's doing what.
Yeah, who owns Dun & Bradstreet and Wall Street? Oh, the American Bar Association and the BAR, British Accreditation Registry.
So now you know why David, as you were saying, now we know why we're having a hard time.
Yep, it's collusion, people.
Now, I got a letter, David. I got a letter.
RICO because this is organized crime.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Sure is. We need to hold our elected governors and in office. We need to go after them for identity theft. We need to hold them accountable.
Yes.
So that's what we...
Every one of them in jail because, you know what, we can have another election.
Sure can.
And we, the people, have the right to alter and abolish any form of law. Constitutionally, there's not a thing they can do.
They're trying to tell me when I'm going after Kate Brown, I can't recall her for another month. That's why I got to get this paperwork out. I talked to the Salem Journal newspaper today, and I told them I had this evidence and this stuff. They were interested, but the co-owner of the newspaper never emailed me today because he knows I'm telling the truth because he personally knows who I am. So
our listeners, Ed and David, what they should be doing is filing the identity theft affidavit form, which is 14039, through the IRS, even though it might not go anywhere. But anyway, the more of us that fill out that form and send it to them, see, that's what's going to scare the crap out of them.
Well, and the other point, Michelle, that I've been telling everybody, that when me and Dave wrote the separation of lawful and legal, that Judge Scalia had in his possession, I believe, at the time he was executed. All right? Because I was informed to make sure he had that before he went to this. In my verification, I knew he did have it.
Well, and you know something, and of course this is also to our listeners. See, that's why just as we've been talking about regarding the laws are there. They're just not following the laws. They're breaking the laws. So once we know the laws that they're breaking, which is Title 26, Title 15, Title 12, Title 13, Title 14, Title 10, once we start learning what laws they're breaking, we can apply those laws and those rules in our paperwork when we address our claims with them pertaining to the identity theft.
Oh, you and I and Dave have been doing that, is trying to get the others to comprehend it, because some of these people is like, I'm sitting there earlier arguing with people about stuff, and it's like, did you read this? Yeah. I said, so did you comprehend what the words meant? Yeah. So what the hell are you arguing with me, trying to say it's this, that, or the other, when you just told me what it was?
Right. Now I'm going to be sending you the instrument that I just put together regarding the identity theft that I just gave to the Sheriff's Department. Now in that instrument has a lot of the information that you guys were looking for, and I didn't realize how much stuff I touched on. So gosh darn, I hope I know I scared the crap out of them. But anyway, I've been trying to forward that over to you by email. So I just found it today, and I'm going to be forwarding it over to you. And I just got some paper. Remember, I was telling you earlier that I ran out of paper because what I wanted to do was rescan my paperwork back into my computer so you would have the notary signature and my signature on the instrument to prove that I actually did file that claim. Of course, now that's only to two people that are going to get a copy of that instrument, and that's only for them only. It's not to be shared. In other words, it's for our use as to what we're doing. But I'll be forwarding that information over to you today, so you'll be getting it after I get off the phone as to what we're doing. Now, David, I started to tell you, I got and Ed, both of you, I got a letter from the IRS regarding the identity theft prevention and victim assistance. Now, I'm going over it, and I will get with you later on that. I just find that amazing. Did you ever get a letter yet, David or Ed, after you filed your identity theft form? Meaning not the 211 form, the other form is what I'm referencing off of.
I haven't opened it yet because I got another one going out to them before I open this one.
I have not received anything from them, Michelle.
Okay, you haven't yet? Okay, well, I just got mine today.
And they're investigating it or they're looking into it?
According to the letter that I received, they looked into it, so they confirmed it. So they confirmed that I am a victim to the identity theft claim that I just sent them, and it comes from the Department of the Treasury, And then, of course, underneath it, it says International Revenue Service.
Yeah, okay.
So
In other words, they're going to be they're investigating.
they already did. They confirmed it. That's what I'm saying. They confirmed it. My identity theft report claim, they're telling me that they confirmed it, and now they're telling me what I need to do next, is what I'm saying. So that's why I was asking David if he had received his letter yet. And that would have been, that's the form, David, not the 211, I'm talking about the 401.
Right.
Hang on, I'll tell you the number. Sorry about that.
And they're telling you that they're confirming identity theft.
Yes, they confirmed it.
Good.
And that was on the hang on a minute, I just lost the number.
48344.
The 14039 form.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they confirmed it, and they gave me a code.
Okay.
To go by, so I can, in other words, talk to them. So I'll let you in on that later. But anyway,
when I get mine, I'll call you.
Oh, absolutely. So that's why I'm giving you the good news.
Yeah,
so
good. I'm glad it's coming.
Hey, well, I'll tell you, like I said, I'm going to be forwarding my instrument to you and Ed when I get off the phone. Now, keep in mind, I was addressing treason, and I had put in the rules and the regulations under the true law, not the codes and statutes now. And I actually was addressing them, and I was claiming that they committed identity theft. And I was also referencing off of the law firms that how they're going about stealing these homes through terrorism acts, which has to do with it through identity theft. And it's too bad that you can't get on Facebook, because the video that I just found again, and I posted it on Facewall, and I sent it to you, Ed. There's an attorney on there who gives the definition and explains the fraud regarding the banks, right to a T. And I had that video a long time ago on my computer, and I was trying to look for it. Well, it was a blessing, because I found it again. It was sent to me, and so I reposted it back on Facebook. The good news is this attorney, and I believe he is from Florida, if I'm not mistaken, or I think he's from California. He has what he's doing is he's educating the attorneys, because they don't know this. He's educating the attorneys what the banks have done and how that plays out pertaining to the currency and the non-currency, like what you and I discovered, David.
Yep.
So what he's doing now is he's teaching, basically he's teaching them what I put in my paperwork that I'm going to be sending to you, that I gave to the Sheriff's Department. So he's teaching them now the facts, the true facts, how we were deceived from the very beginning, when we sat down with those lawyers thinking we were doing the right thing. So basically what he's saying is he's telling you in that video how the banks committed fraud and how they committed fraud upon you. It's an awesome video. He even tells you how they put you on the stock exchange. He talks about the birth certificate, how that plays in. So he's in other words very honest. Oh my God, I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been shut down for what he did. You there? Oh.
Nothing surprises me.
Well, here's the good news. He's also educating the FBI. He's working with the FBI. The FBI now actually hired an attorney who was pretending to be one of us. And what she was doing was going into the courts, and she was addressing foreclosure. And she found out, it's called the doc. I don't know if you've heard of this term, but it's called the doc or the doc firm. Well, guess what? The doc firm, now they're no longer operating. They were shut down. But what they did is they hired anybody who wanted a job, and they were paying them about $10 an hour. Now, these were just regular people. And what they were doing was having them sign these forms for the bank. And they were claiming that they were servicers for the bank. No joke. And that's called the doc firm. The doc firm had these people sit down, and they were paid by how many pages they could sign their names on these forms. Those are the forms that they are using. Now, this is the banks. The banks hired these people to do this. So the banks took their signatures, then they had notaries notarize their signatures, even though they knew they were not who they were claiming they were. Notarize these forms. Those are the forms now that we are dealing with regarding the fraudulent liens on people's homes. Now, I just gave you a big piece of the puzzle how these courts now are committing, and these law firms, how they have deceived the people and the United States. Now, if that isn't a form of treason, I would be speechless if somebody thought that it wasn't.
I think that's personage. I think that's identity theft. I think that involves land theft. Gee, I don't know what else is left.
I agree with you, David.
Fraud, breach of public trust.
Yep.
Gee.
So here's the thing. I don't know how many other people have filed a treason claim under the Bankruptcy Act under identity theft. I might be the first. I can't say I am, but if I am, that was a good thing I did.
Yeah, I got to thank you for your effort in all of this and the time and research you put into this to expose this whole corruption fraud scheme.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I am so proud of myself because when I started to look at other videos, now these are attorneys, of course, and detectives, and when I got done listening to what they were saying, it made me feel good to realize that I hit it on the nail. And now they're out trying to teach the public for what we have brought forth.
Yep. It makes you wonder how many hundred thousands of people are affected by these fraudulent foreclosures.
Well, I posted it on Facebook, and the people that want to find out some of those answers, the videos are on Facebook, and I shared them with you, Ed. You have them on, and David, I also gave them to you. So even though you can't get on Facebook, look in your spam folder. They'll be in your spam folder.
I just answered a special page on Facebook, and I asked them if they bothered to check with the people involved before they canceled their program, because I know of 2 Facebook pages that are in my name. So
wow, really?
Which one of these did you cancel, or did you cancel both of them?
Well, and you know what, David? It might be a scam too. They might not have deleted you. In other words, it might be a scam too. It might be somebody might have sent you that, making you think.
Just the fact that I can't get onto it because they won't accept my sign-in.
Oh.
My email address. Just the same thing that happened to Yahoo when I was on Yahoo. some idiot changed my web page to People PC, who I hadn't been on People's PC for over 10 years. They don't even have the right information on the page. Same thing happened here. I guarantee it.
Well, then what I would do is just open up a new one. Open up a new one, and then you can go in, after you open up your new one, then you can go into the old one and delete them and remove them.
If I may.
Yep, go ahead.
Dave, do you mean to tell me everything that you filed on Facebook is gone?
No. I can't get into my page. As far as I know, my page is still there. Anybody that's on the internet probably can get onto Facebook and go to Davidlee Buess and pull it up. Just make sure you click on the picture, the family picture, the 4 boys and a girl, and that'll take you to the right page.
Well, here's what I can do, Dave. Let me send you a friend request and see what happens on that note. Well, wait a minute. If you're already my friend, maybe I can't do that.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but I yield.
Yeah, if you're already my friend, I wouldn't be able to do that. The only way I would be able to do that is if we were no longer friends.
Okay. Well, unfriend me. Wait a day and then friend me.
Oh yeah, I could do that. That's true. Okay. All right. Let me see. All right. I'm looking through my list right now to see if you're there, and I don't even see you.
Use the search function.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to have to do because he's not coming up in my drop-down bar.
Wow.
Yeah, that's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
I love the game.
When I get home, I will see what I can do on my end. If I can alert Facebook that you can't get into your account, maybe they'll try to contact you. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
But the ETA on that is probably about 5 or 6 in the morning, Pacific time, because I'm at work and I'm just waiting right now at TIA, Tucson International Airport, for my hire, which is already prepaid. Anyway, I yield.
Okay. Anyway, what was I going to say now, doggone it?
Well, we were talking about Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, and I forgot it. I forgot what I was going to say about it. I know. I accused them, their customer service department. That's what I meant to give to Toasted. Contact their customer service department to call them, for them to call me, I mean. And let's talk about this. Find out who it is that actually screwed it up.
Well, it's a possibility that somebody found out your password and now they're in other words, they're pretending they're you.
Well,
Keylog hackers.
All this confusion happened when I got my new phone from TrackPhone, and I went to set up my accounts on TrackPhone. So I would not suggest that anybody ever buy a TrackPhone because it's the biggest piece of garbage on
If I may, Dave, I want to offer some information. Lately, what's been going on is these Keylog hackers have been duplicating SIM cards and taking that, and then once they've done that, they've got full access to you. And I yield.
Oh,
Dave,
so it's
quick question for you, Dave. Did you read the contract on the TrackPhone and see who's the tracking company?
I'll have to look it up.
A TrackPhone is a tracking company, so you sign a contract to have them track, and they get to decide who you're allowed to have contact with if you didn't read the fine print.
Well, the thing of it is,
Doesn't matter what the thing of it is. It's a private contract with a private phone company, and that's the way they look at it.
Okay. Fine.
That's good to know.
Well, see, everybody goes, oh, my constitutional rights. Well, if you don't put it in the contract, then you don't have them. I've had the same phone company for 35 years. All right? The company has changed over 3 times.
Same contract.
My original contract with the same phone company 35 years ago stands. Because I've never accepted their terminology, and I've had questions with them over years, and they don't question me.
Well, you know what else I discovered too, because I had acknowledged Michael C. School as a friend on Facebook, and I had to just redo it again because somehow we got separated as friends.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, in other words, somehow I discovered that we were no longer friends, and I had in other words, so he sent me another friend request, and I acknowledged it. So we'll see now where it goes.
Okay.
But you're coming up now, Ed. I see you. Oh, I do see you. Okay, so you are coming up, David. Let me see. I'm going to send you a message and see if you get it.
Michelle, go ahead and accept my friend's request as Thomas Young's too.
What was it called again? Thomas Young?
Thomas Young's.
Okay, I see you. I'm confirming you right now. Okay, I just confirmed you.
I appreciate it. I also yield.
I'm yielding too. I'm giving whoever wants to speak. All right, David, I sent it to you. A message.
I'll see what I got.
Okay.
I know they changed the password and the email address. They had to because I checked the paperwork that I filled out when I joined them. I'm giving them the right information. It's just not registered.
Here's what I'm discovering too. I'm discovering my friends that want to, in other words, friend requests. A lot of them are lawyers.
Not only are they lawyers, they're also public and elected officials using Facebook as something else, but I yield.
Yeah, we know that. I get lawyers' requests all the time.
Or they're friends with a lawyer, either way.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, well, you know what? I kind of take that as a compliment. Because if we have lawyers that want to
I want my percentage when they win the court case. I don't take it as a compliment. They're only doing that so they get information to win cases.
And they don't have to do the research.
That's right. So I want my percentage.
That's a good point.
I want my percentage. Screw that crap. I don't give a shit about God and the Bible and all that shit. I want my percentage. The root of all evil is money. They live by it, and they tell me I'm not supposed to. I can live by it.
Well, that's a good point. I didn't as to. In other words, they're taking our information, and they're taking our information because, like you said, we did their homework for them.
Mm-hmm.
But what I meant is I took that as a compliment as to us knowing. In other words, they don't know what we know.
Yeah, I know. We know what you meant, but I'm saying is that these guys don't look at it as a compliment. They don't have compassion.
Oh, no, they don't. Oh, hell
but
no,
so
they
don't
take
sit
it as
there when they're doing this and think they do.
Oh, absolutely not.
They rob and pillage just like the judges and lawyers.
Yep, I agree with you there. Hell no, I'm not giving them no compliment. I was complimenting us.
Mm-hmm.
not them. Oh, God.
Well, I find it interesting with all these people trying to say, well, what about the national debt? And we're in debt. Well, I'm not in debt. I didn't borrow money. Why would you borrow money and go in debt?
Right.
You don't have it. Who gives you the right to go in debt? Who gives you the right to spend money you don't have?
Well, one must remember that the United States of America is doing business as a federal corporation. Federal corporation permission to borrow money in my name.
Well, I have a question, because this has to do with the currency now pertaining to money and the bonds. Why is the currency under a continental, hang on a minute, let me go back to that dollar. Yeah, it's called it's the United States of America, and they say continental, which has to do with the currency.
What year are you looking at, Michelle?
These are United States continental dollars. Regarding the
what
national.
Year are you talking about? We don't have continental dollars. We have United States dollars today.
I'm talking about the dollar bill itself, what it says on the dollar bill regarding the currency. It says national currency. I'm looking at the dollar bill.
All right, let me go grab a dollar bill so this way I can see what you're looking at, what you're trying to claim. If you're looking
not
at
a regular dollar bill. This isn't a regular dollar bill.
Well, okay, where'd you get it? Then that's what I'm talking about.
It's on. Well, I sent it to you, Ed. It's on Facebook. If you want to see what I'm looking.
Okay, well, we're talking continental is from England.
Right.
That's what they were using in Washington D.C.
Mhm.
All right, and that has nothing to do with 48 states, the continental dollar.
And I'm telling you, I'm looking right at the dollar bill. It says national currency, the United States
I know
of
what you're
America.
looking at. That's why I asked you what year it says on the bill or the information.
Oh, hang on. I don't know.
That's what I'm asking you.
It just gives a series number. It doesn't say. I don't see the year. There's a series.
Yeah, in other words, this is one of those things that who knows who put out.
And it says legal tender for debts. For
who put it out? Who's the corporation? Who's the industry that put it out with their name on it?
Well, they're sharing the dollar bill, but hang on.
I don't care what they're sharing. I asked who's the one that's claiming.
I got to go back on Facebook.
Okay, well, I mean, you can't say something if you don't know who's claiming it.
It's shoot.
Federal Reserve note.
No, she's saying it's not a Federal Reserve note. That's why I'm trying to break it down to what year that she's claiming this thing is by.
It's the vision of the continental dollar is designed for the Office of the Treasury for the Government of the United States of America is what it says. Oh, it's rain or Ron of the heavens.
That's what they were trying to come up with.
So are you telling me that they took a copy and somehow they fabricated?
They're trying to create their own dollars, what they're trying to do.
So if it's their own dollar, why does it say United States on it then?
That's what they're trying to do, just like the Continental Marshals and Sheriffs are in jail for impersonating federal officers.
Wow, so are you telling me? Go ahead,
I'm not telling you anything. Use your mind. Go ahead, Dave.
Plain and simple, Michelle. It's counterfeit. Don't use it.
Oh, absolutely, it's counterfeit. No, that's not what I was getting after. They were posting a picture of the front and the back of the bill.
Right.
So what they're doing is they're playing trickery then. So they're trying to say because it says United States on it.
Have you ever read some of their structure on their main site?
No, I don't deal with them.
Then why would you bring up that dollar bill then?
They're showing different.
Doesn't matter what they're showing, Michelle. That's what I'm asking you. I've been on the sites. I've read their stuff. That's what I'm asking you.
Well, what they were getting at was they're talking about the currency.
Right, but that's what you're alluding to, yes.
They're not. In other words, they're not talking about the Constitution here. They're talking about the national currency as to the debt.
And the word national is a British terminology of the European nations. National is not part of the United States.
Right. Okay. Now you touched on you just said something about the nation states, right? Now when I was doing
the Union States, because we unionize together under one. We're not national, because then if you go back to Executive Order 2040, if you claim to be a national, you're an enemy to we the people, the lawful bloodline. That's Executive Order 2040.
Well, that's
where it says $630,000 per birth certificate issued.
Right. So what they did is they posted their dollar bills under the currency as to the bonds. Okay,
they're trying to come up with a new dollar bill because everybody's wants to say we need to end the Fed. Mm-hmm. Why do we need to end the Fed? How come we're not having the Fed do their job for the lawful legal citizens, the lawful bloodline, and the public servants and immigration?
Right. Now keep in mind, Ed, this is where it gets touchy. Because remember I was talking about international law as to the foreign states or the foreign countries.
But see, that's foreign. Each state is not foreign to one another. You go across the border, it's foreign. We don't give a shit about them. Well, I go from here to New Mexico or here to Florida. That's not a foreign country.
Well, I'm using the word foreign because foreign also applies to the United States as the nation states.
Yeah, but see, we live in it, so it's not foreign to us.
Well, well, of course I know that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the currency pertaining to the bond, the debt.
What is that? We don't have a debt.
So
the British government does.
Oh, that's right. That's correct. So so just as what you just said, the United States of America, the continental dollar, or because they're saying continental dollar or dollars. Now what they
same thing as a continental marshal, the same thing as a continental judge is all line of BS.
Well, they're not. They're talking,
Michelle.
Yeah.
You take that web page and you forward that over to the U.S. Marshals.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how quick those boys get arrested. Because it is a law. You do not dare take a picture of a United States dollar.
Oh, that's a good point, David.
You bet it is.
So are you telling me that if you were to take
He's not telling you anything. He gave you a thought. We don't tell anybody to do anything.
Let her finish, Ed, please.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to respond back to his statement. So what you're saying, David, is if I was to take a picture of a dollar bill and post it on the internet, that would be a crime. Is that what you just said?
You bet your sweet bippy.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And that's where people get in trouble. They don't know. They don't take the time to look up the law to see how that applies.
Mm-hmm.
That is the same as counterfeiting. The minute you take a picture of U.S. currency or
gotcha.
Fitting.
Yeah, I see. Oh, I see now. Yeah, that you are on that note. Yes, I could see now where you're coming from. Because somebody could take that.
Just forward it over to the U.S. Marshals and FBI. Hey, I got something for you here. Go check this out and throw these bums in jail for counterfeiting.
Yeah, they actually are setting themselves up for a lawsuit there, or like you said, they could be accused of that because even though that was not their intention. But just like you said, somebody could take that dollar bill that they just copied, print it out, and now they do say on their as they're sharing that information that they can't do that. I mean, they are specifying that information on there that this is
False Claims Act.
Exactly. So and they do.
Document.
Well, and not only that, they also say that if you print that out and try to use it as a dollar bill, that would be a crime. I mean, they do say that on their.
It's counterfeiting. No, there's nothing, no other name for it. It's counterfeiting currency.
Correct.
Period.
Yeah. Now that's a good point.
And is it in color?
Yes, it is.
Oh, bingo! There you go.
Yeah, it's the actual color and everything of the dollar bill that they're sharing.
They photographed the dollar bill and altered it, and now they're pumping it out. So that's a counterfeiting ring, and they'll go to jail for 25, 30 years over that.
Yeah, that's a shame, and I mean because I don't think that was their intent, but you are correct because
read the contract.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point, David. Well, our listeners got some good news on that point.
Mhm.
Well, that would be the same. That would be the same thing, like us taking a copy of a dollar bill and then trying to go cash it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, how many people with the modern printers they have today would take bond paper and put it in their printer, stick the dollar bill in the appropriate corner, picture one side, flip it over. They have to change the corners so it matches up when they flip the paper over, and then take another copy of the other side, and then cut it out and say, "Oh, gee, this is a new currency." So they then wrinkle it up a little bit so it looks like it's been used a few times. They slide it right on by the teller.
Well, I do know as a cashier, although most people aren't trained in that, but I do know when you feel a piece of paper and then you feel a dollar bill, there is a difference in the texture. That's
why I say use bond paper. It's almost identical.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's why we a lot of times you have to hold the in other words, they teach you how to hold the dollar bill up to the light, and if you can see through it, there's ways of detecting that, and there's things you look for when you hold it up at the light, and it reveals that if it's a counterfeit. I know that especially if it's more than a dollar bill, like with a $50 bill and a $25 bill, there's different things you look for, It's amazing. I mean,
they could probably counterfeit a dollar bill easier and quicker and pass it than any of the other money, because nobody cares about a counterfeit dollar bill.
Well, that's true.
You're in a hurry. You got a line. You're trying to get through the line. You just say it's a dollar bill, so it goes in the cash drawer.
Yeah.
And the guy who gets it after the teller hands it to him for making change, and the guy looks at it and goes, "Hey, this ain't right. Look at it." Bingo,
yeah.
Well, I wonder where I got that from. Which one of the other 50 customers that just went through here did I get that comment from?
True.
So.
I sent you, Ed, an email, and I'm not sure, I can't remember if I sent it to you, Ed, but usually I do when I'm sending it to either one. I sent you an email, and it's the website pertaining to legal forms regarding the court. Or the courts, I should say.
Okay.
Now, the reason why I put a little message on there to call me so I can tell you what to click on to open up the forms that we need. Now, what I do is I go to those forms.
You want to do me a favor? Send me that link for the form so I can send it to another guy.
Yeah. Well, I'll check. I'm pretty sure I sent it to you, but I'll check and I'll resend it to you, Ed.
Okay.
Now,
no, I posted that on our Facebook pages. They just have to scroll down and find it.
Yeah, well, I don't know where it is. I was just trying to cut a chase to help somebody out.
Now, the reason why I sent it to you, David, is because what I do is I go and I click on the forms and I look at the verbiage. and I apply their verbiage to, in my paperwork, to use against them. Because what they're doing is they're citing the actual law in those forms. So that's one of the advantages that we can do by clicking on those forms. And also we can even take their forms and of course modify them for what we're trying to do too. So I sent it to you, and I kind of learned the trick here, what you have to click on in order to get to the forms that we're looking for. It's an actual, in other words, it's an actual legal forms that they use in court.
All participants are unmuted. Q&A session is over.
So anyway, I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, I guess we're getting down to the... Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, we should throw that out again, see if anybody else would like to speak up.
But I'm anxious, Michelle, to see that $8 bill that you're talking about. But, yeah, that'll be...
Hello?
Hello, go ahead, Speaker Dave. We got a talker. Let him go. Go ahead.
I have a question. Michelle, what is that website of the lawyer that you said is a good video to look at?
The are you talking about as to the bankruptcy information?
Well, you just mentioned a lawyer. He was teaching people.
Yeah, I don't know. It's on. If you go to my Facebook, my wall, which is Michelle Christensen, you'll see.
I don't do it. So is there another way?
Oh. Well, these are
she can email it. You email me to me. Michelle will email it to me, and I'll email it to you if I know who I think it is.
Yeah, I've got both of your emails, so I'll send it to you.
Okay, so you email me tonight at least twice. Michelle will email that to me, and I'll return that email to you tonight so you get it.
Okay, Michelle.
All right. What I'll have to do is I'll have to retrieve that in my spam folders and see if I still have them in my spam folders. Because a lot of times once I share those links, I delete them from my computer.
Okay. And Michelle, I'm getting ready to do a theft report. Any suggestions on some keywords to use when you do the report?
What kind of a report, hon?
The identity theft report.
Yeah, you what you want to do, well, if you in your search bar, if you look up intrinsic fraud, that'll help you out under identity theft. And of course, Title 18-1001, which is trickery. So that's a good start. You'll get a lot of good information on there, especially intrinsic fraud, and then also extrinsic fraud, which has to do with collateral damage. So you have,
Okay, because I was told by I think it was an agency that deals with that they decide whether they will generate a report for you or not. It's up to them. If they hear the word fraud, they're not going to generate a report for you.
That's correct. You have to use you want to in your report you claim identity theft, not fraud. Because when you say fraud is in other words, it applies to many different forms of fraud. So when you just use the word fraud, now it becomes a civil matter in court or a civil matter. But when you use the term identity theft, now it's a crime. Of course, now you have to prove that. You have to prove that you are a true victim to identity theft. And that's the hard part, because a lot of people don't know who stole their identity or who's doing what with their identity. They only know that they're a victim. But as soon as you can catch on and you know who stole your identity without your consent, then you apply your identity theft to those people or that party. Like if it's a law firm, for instance, if it's a law firm that's doing things without your actual consent. Remember, any contract has to be signed under penalty of perjury. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is where the banks and these law firms have committed wrongdoing, because that's the part that they didn't, in other words, they forgot about that part. They didn't think that we, the people, would catch on to that because we don't know the law. So any contract, I don't care what it is, even with the bank, in other words, if there's no other person's name on that contract with your name, they have no standing. See, what they did is, I'll give you an example. I'll use the foreclosures as an example. What they did is they took in court, they addressed the promissory note. Well, the promissory note cannot be addressed unless there's an endorsement attached to the promissory note by who gave you the money. This is where we have them by the seat of their pants, because you didn't consent. What the law firms did is they took your name and they created a bond off of your name, and they gave it to the stock exchange, which went towards the currency pertaining to the bank. And what they did is they gave you a promissory note. The bank did. It's not your promissory note, it's their promissory note. And this is why where the judges are confused, because the promissory note has no value. In order for somebody to bring a case into court, they have to have the promissory note and the note, meaning the instrument, as showing the endorsement that you have your signature on it, and the the specimen's name, counter signature, his name also has to be on it. Guess what? They didn't give you that endorsement. You never received an endorsement. The banks never gave you that, and nor did the law firms. This is where they screwed up. And now they're nervous because we discovered it. And I did.
They didn't screw up. They knew exactly what they were doing. They just got caught.
Yes,
they did. No.
Yes, they did. Trust me, these people ain't that stupid. That's like a cop doesn't understand his ticket book and doesn't understand he's committing fraud when he does.
Ed, the banks and the law firms did screw up. They screwed up on the part regarding the endorsement, because that's where they failed. They didn't give the homeowner the endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they screwed up. Big time. Every law firm that addressed all these not foreclosures. Every law firm that addressed the paperwork as to the contract pertaining to your mortgage, that's the part where they screwed up. They did not. What they did is they took your endorsement, your signature, but the bank did not give you a copy of the endorsement. They didn't give you that. What they gave you was the promissory note, telling you that you promised to pay them back the $200,000 towards your mortgage. But what they forgot was they have no standing in court, because you have. It's just. In other words, this is how I tell people: if you sell a car, what is it that you have to have in order to sell that car to give it to the new owners? You have to have the title and a copy of the insurance policy.
That's not true. I bought cars without any of that stuff. It was just a contract between me and the owner.
We didn't have a title and stuff like that. I buy cars like that with no problems.
When you took the car off of the seller, he gave you with that vehicle a copy of the title.
No, not all the
time.
To
the vehicle.
Not all the time. I've actually bought cars that didn't have titles, that I knew the owner of the vehicle, the covered wagon, and we wrote a contract. I didn't have an issue.
If you wrote out a personal contract between you and the seller,
owner,
who was the original owner at the time of the vehicle,
no, it doesn't matter. He wasn't the original owner that bought it from the dealership that had the manufacturer state of origin. He was the original owner that once was registered as the instructor.
There you go.
He didn't have
so he was the owner. When he sold you, he was the owner of that vehicle. I'm going to put it in the microwave. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. He was the original owner. Well, he was the owner at the pertaining to the vehicle. So you wrote out a contract that covered the part of the other pieces that he didn't give you, which was the title.
Yes.
So my point is, when you sell something, you are giving some kind of documentation. Well, your documentation was your personal promissory note between him and you, which was signed by you and him. That is the endorsement. That's the part that was not done from the banks and the law firms. See, you sat down and you did what? You signed your name and he signed his name on the instrument pertaining to the contract.
Actually, we autographed, but go ahead.
Well, either way. So my point is, there was an endorsement. That is what we don't have when we sat down and we were addressing the instrument pertaining to the mortgage, which only had our signature, which was the promissory note. But in return, they did not sign it, meaning the bank, the actual servicer or the lender who actually gave you that money. They're the ones that should have signed it. That's where they made their mistake. So now, because of that, it's called a clouded title. And that's why people have to know and learn the difference between a promissory note and a note. Because a promissory note has no value. It's not the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
The instrument is the money. Well, guess what? Now, here's where the banks committed the crime. The banks were claiming that they actually gave you money. Really? Did you get money into your bank account or your checking account when you bought your house to promise to give back that money? No, you did not. That's the part where they screwed up. So what they did is they gave you a promissory note, and what they did is they took your name and they made 3 times or 10 times the amount of money off of that promissory note, because what they did is they sold your promissory note to the stock exchange. Mm-hmm. And they made a bond. So what they did is they made a bond. They took your promissory note with your signature on it and they made a bond off of it. Then they sold the bond to the to the stock exchange. That's where it became securitized.
Michelle,
so that's how that. Huh?
Okay. Now, what? Now you keep saying the court. What do you recommend regarding a non-judicial state where there's no court?
Well, that's the hard part, because see, that's where you have to gather up your paperwork. Now, I can tell you, if you're talking about addressing the court per se as to a mortgage, and you're trying to claim identity theft, what you have to do is you have to look at your contract, meaning your mortgage papers. You have to do a lot of research. You have to call the credit bureau. You want to get a copy of your credit report. And the reason why I say that is because, remember, this goes through the Trade Commission, okay? This also goes through the Treasury of the state. So if there's things you can do, you can notify the Federal Trade Commission. Okay, that's who you need to talk to if you're talking about your mortgage and you're trying to prove identity theft.
Somebody was trying to say something?
Yeah, I want to say something.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I don't know where anybody else is from, but here in Arizona, I buy vehicles and I don't register them. And what I do is I have them take the title and sign it out, but I don't have them sign it over to anybody. They just sign it out and have it notarized, and it makes it an open title. Anybody can sign as the buyer. And then I take a silver American dollar and I give them $1 plus whatever they want for the vehicle, and I have them write out a bill of sale with my name on it, but I don't sign it. They sign it in front of a notary public, and showing that I paid $1 silver plus other valuables, and that makes it legal. So I don't sign anything. And
Actually, that makes it legal and lawful, and I appreciate that. That's a very valid point. Would you repeat that again so people can try to comprehend what you just brought to the table?
Well, here in Arizona, and I think anywhere else I've ever been, you can take a car or truck or whatever, motorcycle, and you can buy it from the owner, and you have the owner take the title, the clear title, and sign it in front of a notary public and have it notarized to show that you have released your interest in that title, in that equipment, whatever it may be. And then I give them, or they give me, a bill of sale, and I give them a silver dollar and plus whatever else. And that way, and I don't sign it, they sign it in front of a notary public. So I paid something of value for it, so it's not Federal Reserve notes, which are worthless, which are nothing, and it doesn't consummate a sale. But a silver dollar does, because it has intrinsic value.
Right.
So I don't sign anything, and I don't register them. I just keep the title and the bill of sale, so it can't be, so no one can say that I've stolen it.
Well, guess what? What you just brought forth is exactly how the banks were supposed to be addressing the sale on our homes. You hit it right on the nail. You couldn't have said it any clearer. That is awesome. And you are 100% correct. And unfortunately, a lot of the American people don't know what you just brought forth. In fact, I didn't even know that until just recently when I started to do my studying, and also when I became a victim to fraud as to identity theft. But you are absolutely correct. And years ago, what you just explained is exactly how the banks used to do the mortgages. When you went to the bank, and they did exactly just like you said, they had the title, which was the title pertaining to the house, and what the bank did exactly just how you explain it. In other words, it's the same way that you would buy a vehicle is the same way you would buy a home. Unfortunately, what do? We go to a law firm, and we think that these attorneys know what they're doing. Well, it turns out that they didn't know what they were doing. And this is why the banks have committed the fraud upon all of us people pertaining to these mortgages. You are so correct.
Okay.
Because they don't do that anymore. Yeah, sure.
You can also, it's not as good, and you're taking some chances, but you can deal with real property pretty much the same way. you can get the owner to file a quit claim so that they quit any claim in the interest of that property. The only problem with that is, if you're dealing with somebody that you know is honorable, that'll be all right. But somebody that wants to get to you, they can sell that property again on another quit claim deed, and it overrides yours. It's whoever gets down there to register it first. But it's a legal transaction or a lawful transaction. But it's a little bit more sketchy. You can buy property on a quit claim deed, but it isn't that sure.
Well, you are correct on that note too. Sounds like you've done your homework, or you're in the real estate business. I don't know, but you are correct on that note too, and that's why I'm very cautious when people say, "Well, you should do this and you should do that," because it might sound good, but in the reality, in other words, could bite you in the rear, you know. And you pointed out some very good, valuable points there, and that is, you are correct on that note.
Well, I just
that's just like, well, that's it's kind of like the same thing too, like what they were doing. Remember how they were calling people over the phone, and they were asking you if you wanted to refinance? Well, what they didn't tell the people is when they refinanced, it created a whole new contract.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But who's stupid enough to finance anything or do anything over a phone anyways? I know people are stupid, trust me. But anybody who does that, to me, is very stupid.
Well, they got shams for everything.
They sure do. They sure do.
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, back to the FTC. When you go online, is that a long process filling out that form? The online
no, actually, it's not. If you call them, you can actually fill out their form, their identity theft form, right on the internet. And what they do is when you call them, they'll give you a code, and it's just between you and them. That way, that they know that they're actually dealing with a true identity as to you, and because after all, they don't want to share any information or get any information that was that somebody else would get their hands on. So what they do is they tell you where to go, and they actually will give you their form, and you fill it out, and then of course you'll have their phone number where you can actually talk to somebody. And what they do is they will check into your status. In other words, if you are a victim and you're dealing with identity theft pertaining to a fraudulent claim regarding a mortgage, they will look into that. And then now that doesn't mean that they're going to, you know how it is. They say they do one thing and do another, right? But you can fill out the forms, and you can get a claim number. It's kind of like the same scenario when you go to the sheriff's department. You know how that is, or the police department. They give you a claim number, an ID number. It's just the same scenario with them. Now, if they
anyhow, Michelle. We're going to shut it down. It's 5 minutes to 8. We've been here for 3 hours, so we'll have to continue next week. Go ahead, ma'am.
Just the last thing. You said if you are a victim. So what makes one a victim of identity theft? That's my last question.
Well, you have to look at your paperwork. You have to see on your paperwork, if you're talking about court documents, for instance, there's supposed to be a seal on there. So if you're talking about a court case, and they're saying that and you lost that court case, for instance, and there's no seal on them, you can claim that those are fraudulent, that they were modified, because a court order, a true court order, has to have a seal stamped next to the judge's name, along with it being notified by the clerk of the court. That's what makes it official. If there is no seal court seal stamped on those papers, then you were scammed by the attorney or the lawyer who represented you, because they are supposed to have a court seal. And I know that for a fact because when as to my case.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
So, okay, do we got any other questions before we get off here? So, all right, I'm going to turn the floor over to Dave.
Okay.
And then I'll say my goodnights after Dave does his.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
Dave still there?
He might have fallen asleep.
Well, let me get back over here. Dave is there online. Dave, are you there?
I had you on mute.
Oh, you had to find your mute button. Okay, your unmute button. All right. Go ahead and say your final, and then I'll get mine, and we'll shut it down for the night.
Okay. Well, as usual, we appreciate you joining the call. If you have any questions, you can contact us on Facebook, send us an email, or bring it up next week. So the privilege is yours. Thanks again for joining us, and have a good week. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you. I would like to confirm, too, that Dave and I are not attorneys. We're just guys who have been through bumps and bruises along the way of the road of life. So we do research and educate you. We thank Michelle when she comes on and brings her points with her points. You know, because we've been through things, we're learning things, and so the only way to do it is pass it on. So that way you have the knowledge. And so, because without the knowledge, how are you supposed to protect your bloodline? That's the whole point. If you have bloodline, you have to protect it if you believe in your rights on this soil. Remember, the Constitution gives you rights. The Bible does not. So that is the one thing that people do not comprehend, that reality. Because as long as your bloodline is true, the Constitution is yours. Once you are a legal citizen, a foreign agent, and then you become lawful, and that goes by the 14th Amendment, and that's proven by court, and that's the 1933 Bankruptcy Act as well when you read it, then you have rights. So we don't have a problem with proper immigration. That's the one point we don't have an issue with. But if we don't have proper immigration, that's where we've gone wild and gone awry, and that's where our country's in the problems we are in today. So anyhow, may the Great Spirit walk with you tonight. Dave forgot his introduction. We'll do that next Monday about the Republic. I like that Pledge Allegiance. So we'll start getting that going a little bit more and paying more attention to those type of things. But we do want to thank you for joining us tonight, and we do appreciate your time. And the ones who are listening to after the ones that we've already done the talk show, and you're listening after the fact for the knowledge because you couldn't be there with us tonight. May the Great Spirit walk with you, Mother Earth bless you, and grow food, plant food, collect rainwater, because if we don't start paying attention to ourselves and protecting our food resources, we're not going to have them. So, and I'll even say it for some of those, because sometimes I have a difference of beliefs, but God bless you, and may the Great Spirit walk with you. And Mother Earth feed you. And I'm done. Thank you so very much.
This was the Davidlee Buess and Edward Johnston's disclaimers. It is now 7:59 p.m. Pacific time, and the date is 5/22/2017. Thank you very much.
Okay, you still there, Link?
This session is no longer being recorded.
Yep, I'm out here. All right.
Anyhow. Yeah, looked like everything went pretty good on the YouTube.
Yeah, did you, were you seeing
Looks
some
like
of the
YouTube
stuff?
is...
Were you seeing some of the stuff?
Yeah, I see the way you put our picture on the bottom of it now.
No, I'm talking about...
It looks like it's still running. Have you turned it off yet?
It's going to be going off soon. Actually,
okay.
Yeah, it will be going off soon. Hold on a moment. I got to stop